Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back, everybody. I'm very gratified in knowing that more and more of us are getting back to reading books. Like, we're interested in it. You know, I'll be on a train and I'll look up and there's somebody reading a book and, oh my gosh, they're in their 20s. What's going on here? It's wonderful. And there's many of us that have those aspirations of writing our own book, being published. Maybe, it's a secret thing that's in our heads. We have an idea for a book, or maybe you're a professional and you'd like to up your game by being a published author. Certainly for the credibility, the information. How do you do that? You consult an expert that can literally hold your hand through the entire process. And I've got her. And she is Fairy Hayes Scott. She joins us here on the program. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Doing great. And how are you doing?
Very well. What's the name of your company?
mytuner-radio.com. And the shortened version is this MANA, M-A-N-A, but it's marketingneauthors.com.
I love the fact that you use the word marketing first, because once you have the book, how are people going to know? And marketing is one aspect of the publishing that you do, right?
That is correct.
You are full service. I mean, we're talking everything from the concept to the cover to the layout, the editing. By the way, side note, it's my understanding that you can never edit your own book. Don't even try to. It's a bad idea.
Very
right?
true. Very true.
Yeah. I would think, how are you going to see the potential errors or the direction it's going in, because you've got the blinders on? You wrote it.
Yes.
So let's walk through the process. Let's say somebody's got an idea for a book, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. Where do you start with that? Does somebody reach out to you and say, here's my idea, what do you think? And would you work with them on the concept? Would you tweak the characters? How deep do you go at that stage?
I work as, let me say this, I work as deep as the author seems to want me to go. I want to make sure that it is always the author's book and not my book. And son, you have to be very sensitive about that. An author may say, well, I got this idea, and somebody else comes in, well, why don't you do this. And that can kind of turn off an author or be very intimidating. So I try to welcome the author along. If there is an idea that I believe that could be tweaked, I try to work with the author, but not just slam it in his or her face. Doing that, I think, would be rude, quite frankly. And I want to make sure that the author, when he or she is finished, the author feels this is my book. It isn't the publisher's book. It isn't some company over there. It's mine. So I try to keep that in mind when I'm working with an author.
Now, that's not to say that we all can use some help, because we're not authors. That's why we're
Correct.
coming to you. So there's going to be tweaks needed. There's going to be maybe character development. And I would assume that you'll make those suggestions, or does somebody say, what do you think? Is this a good story?
I would, if it's really bad, if it's really I don't want to say a bad story, but one that needs more than tweaking, but reconstructive assistance, then I would say, now listen, maybe before you start talking about putting money down to have the book published, maybe you just need the consultation, which could be a separate cost. But I would be gentle, because keep in mind, once that author contacts a publisher, he or she is ready to go, and the work may not be ready to go anywhere. And I don't want to, as I always tell my authors, I want your money, but I want your trust more. So, you can, quite frankly, you can go to any publisher. There are many around, so there's no doubt about that. However, I want the publisher to, the author to feel like, hey, this person really cares about me and about my work. And that's what we try to do here at marketingneauthors.com.
Well, they're in for the long haul, because it's not just the idea. There's so much more involved. Again, right down to the the cover design, which you take care of. Do you also submit it to the Library of Congress? Is that part of the services?
I don't do that.
Okay.
However, I do get their ISBN number. So, and if the author would want me to do it, I can do it, but I don't go that far. But I make sure I get their ISBN number so they're set to go.
What does being published mean nowadays?
Mm-hmm. Well, today it can mean hardcover, soft cover, or digital. Whereas many years ago, I guess maybe not before I was born, in the 1800s, it really meant it had to be a soft cover, hardcover work. That was it.
Yeah, the way it was printed back when I was, it was a man going like this.
Yes.
Bring the press down, then he had put the new page in. Then
exactly. But today with the technology, publishing can mean, like I say, it can be hardcover or it can be digital. So that's a whole new world that's been opened up, which is cost effective for an author. Let's say the author is not quite sure how people might address themselves or like his work. He can get it done digitally, which is more cost effective. See if is one person going to buy your book besides your mother or your dad. Then if you get kind of an audience that seems to, hey, really like it, then that author can consider having it done as a softcover book, which is I know it may seem, well, I don't want to say chicken, but nothing's wrong with being a chicken about your work because you don't know what the audience really wants. You may think you know, but you don't know, especially when people have to part with their money from the wallet. Sometimes they'll say to you, oh, I can't wait till you write this book. You get the book done. It's printed. It's in a hard copy or a soft copy. Then that same friend says, well, I forgot my purse or I forgot my wallet. With the digital, with it being a less expensive cost, then you may not have to deal with that. So that's what publishing means today. Soft cover, hardcover, or digital.
And I would assume that you work with fiction and nonfiction authors?
That is true.
So we have a concept for a book. No matter whether it's fiction or nonfiction, it could be a fantasy story. It could be a cosmetic surgeon that wants to publish a book talking about the process of the aesthetics and maybe more for the patient to learn, but also it ups his game in terms of credibility and professionalism. Got the concept. What comes next?
I like to get the cover design.
Really?
Because I can start marketing the book. We have a cover. So that's really, I know it may seem like, well, geez, but I'd like to get that cover design. Now, I say to my author, I say, give me do you have any idea kind of how you would like the cover? Some authors, no, they don't have a clue. They just say, whatever you do, I'm okay with it. Others are very specific. They want this, and that. I say, okay. Then I go to I have more than one graphic designer, but I go to the one that does most of my books. And what I share with him the information that was shared with me by the author. Then I say to him, and I always say this to him, I said, now I've told you this, work your magic. And I said, bye. And sure as shooting, he works his magic. And my authors are satisfied. I'm satisfied. Voila, we've got the cover.
I like the way you think.
I share that because now I was very particular about when I chose my graphic designers. Sometimes you'll go to a graphic designer and you share with him or her the idea, and you get something that you go, good Lordy mercy, what in the world is this? It's like the graphic designer has his or her mind made up. And then you have to kind of pull and push. I don't have time for that. And I don't think my authors have time for that. Now, I say, so that's why I like to say, because I have the trust in my graphic designers, I said, work your magic, because I know their magic will still work with what I shared with it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
I'm very pleased with my graphic designers. Extremely pleased. Okay.
you've got that level of trust with them. And long story short, I do marketing as well. That's why this resonates with me. And the first person I ever hired in that journey was like 2009, was the graphic designer. Still have the same one. He moved away from this area to California, across the country. But there's just, like you're saying, there's just something there where you just type a couple of words and somehow they get it because of the rhythm and the history between you. And I love the fact that the second thing, aside from the concept of the book, before it's even written, you're thinking about the cover to market the book. At the very least, to say, coming soon. There's that cosmetic surgeon. Hey, my book should be out in the spring of 2025. And it'll give you insight on everything from breast augmentation, tummy tuck, whatever it might be. But now you're ahead of the game. Fantastic. I think that's one. I would have never thought of that in terms of working on the cover for the book. So early.
Yes.
So what's next in this? Somebody come up with, a loose, I don't know if it's called a manuscript. I don't know that term. What is that term called?
That's okay. Manuscript is fine. The person has the manuscript, presents the manuscript. Now, let me share this, which many self-publishing companies do not do, but we do. The work has to be refereed. We send it to our review board to look at before I even send it to the review board, I give a cursory read. If it's not to the quality that I know that'll be expected by my review board, I won't even send it to the review board. I'll go back to the author and say, well, you need to do this. I suggest this, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's get that all straight. Then I do send it to the review board. I'm expecting the review board, hopefully, in most cases they do, the members will recommend the book for publication. Then we can go further. I say that this doesn't happen in most cases at self-publishing companies because self-publishers, many of them are happy if they get their money. They say, I don't care what you've written. Give me my money. Show me the money, as you hear. Well, we're not the show me the money. We want show me the quality. So any book that is on the marketingnewauthors.com website, it had the quality, the trust of our review board and whatnot to go there. Plus, the author doesn't have to worry, will my book be on the website with some material that just doesn't fit with my moral philosophy? Let me put it that way. They don't have to worry about that. Now, keep in mind, we run the company. So now if there's an author who says, well, I don't want my book on a website with blah, blah. If blah, blah fit the quality that this company accepts, too bad. If you don't want to be with blah, blah, you can find another company. I don't mean to be ugly, but we run the company. The author doesn't run us. I hope I've answered.
Yeah. You take pride in what you do. It's
yes, indeed.
It's very clear. Perry, tell me your journey. How did you get here? Did you love reading as a child?
Oh, I loved reading. My parents would get me books. I just read ferociously. I just loved reading. But I have to tell you, I didn't start my journey. How can I say? I never saw myself as a publisher. I never saw myself as an author. My first love and passion was teaching. And from a little tyke, I would play the teacher and I'd have my imaginary students and all of that. And with next door neighbor, I would be the teacher and all of that. So I started my journey really as a teacher. And I'm an English teacher and an English professor, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
How did I get into this publishing aspect? When I was working with my students, especially my deaf students on the college level, I would make materials because sometimes I found that materials were not always, either the language was too advanced for my students or too babyish. So I said, kiss that. I started developing my own materials. My students said to me one day, or they signed to me, Dr. Ferry, write your own book. And I looked at them like, yeah, sure, yeah. Well, they kept on saying, Dr. Ferry, would you just write your own book? As they signed to me. And I said, okay. And that's how I started.
Wow.
I had a colleague in my division. She had a small publishing company. I approached her. I shared with her my manuscript. She said, okay, I'll do it. I was going to pay her. Matter of fact, she was functioning, I guess, as a self-publisher. So I said, I know, tell me what I need to pay you, blah, blah, blah. Well, what happened with that a glitch occurred. She got very ill and she had to shut her company down. When she shared that with me, she felt awful, but I mean, what happens? Life happens. And I could not say to her, well, gee, I'm sorry you're feeling bad, but what you going to do about my book? That would have been very callous. And that's not my personality. So anyway, she said, but why don't you start your own company? Oh, come on now. So
I just want to publish a book.
yeah, that's all. Let's not talk about company. So what I did, my husband generally at that time, he would call me around noontime always to say, how's your day? Blah, 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 blah. When he called me this time, I said, babe, this is not a good day. He said, well, what happened? And I shared with him. He said, well, when I get home from work, we'll talk about it. He got home from work. We talked about it. He said, and now keep in mind, this was in 1991. He said, well, why don't you do that? And I said, well, but I don't have a computer. I don't have a printer. I don't have Dick, He said, well, this computer thing, I think it's going to catch on. So it'd be good if we have a computer in the house. I said, oh, okay. He said, let's go on. Let's do it. So I called up a friend of mine who, well, I don't want to advertise a particular company, but the company, she knew my computing skills were zilcher. She said, well, since you don't have great computer skills, she said, I recommend that you buy this product. I said, okay, whatever she said, I said, okay. And with her recommendation, with the support of my husband, that's how I've come to this journey. So I started out with a small publishing company, which was going to be a textbook publishing company. Then, as I started publishing books, textbook, I started getting calls wanting my same services. Well, textbook publishers, you pay all the costs. These people who were calling me, they didn't want to have a textbook. They wanted, other materials, like you said, plastic surgery or whatever. So that's when I decided to start marketingnewauthors.com in 2002. And there is the story in a nutshell.
Amazing.
So there.
Well, this all happened out of a need. and many others have a need to be published. I love the fact that, and this comes from your marketing mind, but different aspects of what can be done. For example, you have ideas like senior memory book. So let's say you're a little bit older and, your partner loves writing poems or something similar to that. And that can be put together in a book, maybe as a gift.
Yes.
Just one aspect of what you do. I didn't realize there were so many different avenues you could go down when it comes to a book. I'm just thinking a traditional book, whether it's digital, whether it's an ebook or whatever it might be, hard or soft cover. That's what I'm thinking. I didn't know that there was other things that we could do. It's almost endless when you start thinking.
Oh yes. I could go on and on about the books that I just recommend people to go to our website, which is marketingnewauthors.biz. They can see the wide range of books we've published. We have if you're trying to teach your child how to drive, we got a book on teaching driving.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Wait, whoa. Fairy, hold on. My daughter, 16 years old, just today passed her learner's permit to drive.
Yay!
I'm not even kidding. I need the book.
Well, listen, I'll make sure to about that.
Wow.
That was fun.
How funny is that? Wow.
Listen, I mean, you don't see when people think of a book, it doesn't always have to be about a story. It can be, as you mentioned, cosmetic
Surgeon or something. Yeah.
Whatever. The range is tremendous. It is tremendous. And so I would like that to be one lady, she submitted her manuscript as a diary about her relationship with her husband, or unfortunately not now. Totally different from another book I could just go on and on, but let me contain myself.
Because the pride is bursting out of you, and I'm even looking at some of the titles. There's so many on your website that you've done, and short stories are having a moment. I don't know what's going on there, but it's a big thing. I like it because for this kind of stuff, I don't have the attention span, so you get what you need in a short amount of time. But isn't it interesting, Ferry, out of where we are here, 2024, it's the same thing as it was hundreds, thousands of years ago. It's the written word.
Yes.
It's the same thing. Nothing.
Yes.
Technology's all around you, blah, blah, blah. Great, fantastic. But what are you doing when you text? What are you doing on a website? What are you doing on a social media post? It's the word, and words make a difference when they're done, when they're delivered correctly.
Yes.
Amazing.
And the joy that I receive when I present the work, that person's manuscript now into a book format, the joy that I receive when I feel the pride of the author, and the author is like, I got it done. I did it. Listen, it's like I've worked with a person having a baby, and baby is born, and I gain much joy.
You know what? It's almost like, and I was going to say that, use the same analogy. It's like you're reading my mind. It's almost as if the person who wrote the book that you helped along the way is the parent, and you're the grandparent.
Yes.
You're still feeling that excitement and joy. Ferry, what's the best way to find you? Your website again?
marketingnewauthors.biz. And if you want to get a hold of me, email info@marketingnewauthors.com. And if you want to call, 734-975-0028.
And want to add here also that you have a digital deal going on now, $9.75, and just a perfect way to start the process, in a digital form, not a soft or hardcover. Final question. We're out of time, but I have to ask this. Ferry, is that your real name?
That is my real name. My mother's named me because her first name was Ferry, and so she named me Ferry.
Wow. It's like a fairy godmother of books. You're it.
I do. The name has been, it's symbolic of all that. It's magical, and I consider having a book written is a magical experience, and I feel blessed to be a part of it.
Thank you for saying that. I feel your passion. It's amazing and wonderful having you here today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will be right back. Hang on.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole, or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes.
but spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives and the Ad Council.